Welcome to my next Better Call Saul Season 5 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am, or rewatching or watching Better Call Saul, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which, of course, I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, everyone, I've already seen Better Call Saul all the way through one time. In fact, I actually did review videos of Season 6 of Better Call Saul when it was airing on this channel. So, if you want to watch those, even though we're not almost there again, you can click right here with about 20 seconds left to go in the video. That will be my Better Call Saul Season 6 playlist. And if you want to catch all my Breaking Bad content, you can click right here for all my Breaking Bad reviews. Characters ranked, episodes ranked, and seasons ranked of Breaking Bad. But I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, Breaking Bad also being one of my favorite shows of all time. And I wanted to rewatch the show to let things resonate a bit, because I did binge it until I got caught up with the new Season 6 episodes, which was Season 6, Episode 4 was the first review I did when it was actually airing. The rest I did shortly after until I got caught up. So with all that said, this will be Better Call Saul Season 5, Episode 3. The title of this episode is called The Guy for This. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start off with Nacho and his buddy driving Jimmy to a garage where Lalo Salamanca is working on his car. Lalo Salamanca warmly greets a fearful Jimmy and states that he is impressed with how Jimmy used his communication skills to talk Tuco Salamanca out of killing the skateboarders a few years previously. The first and second episodes of Better Call Saul, Season 1 with those two guys. Lalo Salamanca tells Jimmy that he wants him to carry a message to Crazy 8 inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, which would be protected under attorney-client privilege. Jimmy tries to talk himself out of the imposed job by mentioning increased rates, but Lalo hands him over a demand fee in cash on the spot. And then at the bar where Werner was compromised, miscompromised, Mike is knocking back multiple drinks. The bartender, concerned, offers to call Mike a cab so he doesn't drive home or drive drunk. As Mike surrenders his keys, he notices the photograph of the Sydney Opera House on the wall behind the counter and demands for the picture to be taken down, remembering what Werner said about his father, his father working on the project. As Mike walks home, he passes by a group of gangbangers who demand $20 from Mike, but he refuses to pay them. Their leader attacks Mike, who effortlessly subdues him and breaks his arm, scaring the others into allowing Mike to leave. Jimmy returns to Kim's apartment and finds Kim waiting for him on their balcony. Kim is in a celebratory mood as her schedule the following day is packed with pro bono cases instead of work for Mesa Verde. When Kim asks how Jimmy's day went, he answers he met some interesting people and had a few ups and downs, but insists that he had his best day yet in terms of income. Kim appears to be aware that Jimmy is not telling her the whole truth, but doesn't press the issue. Nacho is at home watching television with two of his junkie girlfriends, one of whom is taking apart his belongings in order to supposedly clean them. Nacho, tells her by giving her a jigsaw puzzle to solve to keep her occupied instead. And then Nacho receives an unexpected visit from his father, Manuel, who he invites inside. Over coffee, Manuel tells Nacho that he has refused an offer to buy his upholstery shop and voices his suspicion that Nacho was behind the offer. Manuel forcefully tells Nacho that he will not flee the city as Nacho wants to do, and that the only way for Nacho to confront his troubles is to turn himself into the police. Kim's assistant, Steph, comes into the courtroom to tell her that an urgent matter has come up, but Kim makes her present pro bono case take priority. The judge rules against Kim's motion to dismiss the case. Outside the courtroom, Kim reassures the defendant and her family that they stand a good chance of winning at trial. Steph approaches Kim again, telling her that Rich urgently wants to talk to her. And then Rich Swiker tells Kim that Kevin wants her in to settle a land dispute while having other staff members take on her cases. He reminds her that Mesa Verde keeps them in business and that she has to give a little to get a little. Kim reluctantly goes with it. Jimmy is in an interview room when a shackled Crazy 8 is brought before him. Crazy 8 is initially perplexed as he never hired Jimmy, though his demeanor changes when Jimmy reveals that Lalo Salamanca hired him. Crazy 8 insists he hasn't said anything incriminating to the police about the origin of the drugs, and Jimmy asks if he's good at memorizing information and hands him a notepad with a written script. As Jimmy watches across the street from MDC, an unmarked police car arrives carrying DEA agents Hank Schrader and Steve motherfucking Gomez. Hank and Gomi, as they enter the jail and leave their weapons in a holding room. Hank and Gomez engage in conversation about expired food. They walk into the interview room and meet Crazy 8, who has expressed a willingness to talk. Following Jimmy and Lalo Salamanca's script, Crazy 8 gives the agents details about drug dealing procedures and where hidden drug money can be found. Playing his part in the charade, Jimmy loudly enters the room and pretends to have a disagreement with his client about sharing information with the police. Hank immediately sees through Jimmy's Saul Goodman persona, and he and Gomez are suspicious of the overblown performance. When the agents attempt to leave the room, Jimmy tells them that Crazy 8's information will lead to results. Hank insists that it has to lead to further arrests. Jimmy demands protection for his client as a confidential informant. Agreeing on that, Crazy 8 continues by sharing the exact locations of 3 dead drops. Kim arrives at the place with the land and meets Paige on a barren plot of land which used to be a residential neighborhood where only one house remains standing. The homeowner Everett Acker is stubbornly refusing to sell his piece of the land on which Mesa Verde plans to build a call center. Meeting with Acker outside his house, Kim pragmatically outlines the situation that Acker merely took out a lease on the land but did not purchase it, but also tries to empathize with his point of view. She informs Acker that Mesa Verde has raised the contractually agreed sum for buying him out, and he flatly refuses the new offer, dismissing her overtures as merely a tactical move by Mesa Verde and insisting that no one will ever get him to abandon his property. When he calls out Kim on moral grounds, she angrily rescinds Mesa Verde's offer and tells him to stick to the law like his former neighbors who sold their homes. Even though Paige thinks Kim has brought the dispute to an end, Kim isn't pleased with the situation. Jimmy and Nacho meet with Lalo Salamanca at a dirt racing oval outside of Albuquerque, where Lalo is driving laps in his newly modified car. Jimmy informs Lalo that their plan has worked and that the DEA is now focused on confronting cartel. He also informs Lalo that Crazy 8 is now a confidential informant for the DEA, meaning that he can give Lalo inside information on the agency's activities. With his task for Lalo now over, Jimmy unsuccessfully tries to talk his way out of any further cartel work and tells Lalo Salamanca that he has no time on his schedule for whatever Lalo wants. Lalo simply replies, "You'll make time." As Lalo drives off, Jimmy asks Nacho in what he has gotten himself into. Nacho tells him that he doesn't want to know, and there's no way back for him, stating that when you're in, you're in. Nacho drops Jimmy off outside the courtroom or the courthouse, where Jimmy sees the remains of his ice cream from the previous episode, ice cream cone, on the sidewalk. Kim is driving back to the place. It's like Tuca Curry, I don't know how to pronounce it, while being updated on her pro bono cases by Steph via phone. Uneasy with her encounter with Acker, she decides to turn around and drive back to the place, reaching Aker's house after dark. Using a plank of wood to gain access to his property, Kim persuades him to speak with her again. Kim tells him that she has visited a real estate office and she has found some houses in his price range that he might like, even offering to help him move out of her own pocket. Kim is forced to admit that she doesn't know how he feels since she has never been a homeowner herself. She further tells him that about her childhood, during which her mother often couldn't pay rent and forced the family to move from one place to another. And then Aker accuses Kim of making up her story in order to, get him to sell his land, and goes back into his house. Nacho tells Gus Fring and Tyrus that Crazy 8 is now a DEA informant. Nacho withholds the names of Hank and Gomez as they are in Jimmy's hands. Tyrus takes out his phone and prepares to call to shut down the dead drop sites, but Gus and Nacho stop him from going through, with Nacho reasoning that Lalo will know someone talked if the DEA doesn't find the money at the dead drops. Kim returns to her apartment and joins Jimmy on their balcony. Frustrated by the events of the day, she begins venting by throwing glass beer bottles onto the parking lot below. Without saying a word, Jimmy copies her by doing the same. They head back in after throwing all of their bottles, and the neighbors have woken up to the noise. And that's what ends this episode of Better Call Saul. So I'm going to give this episode an 8.6 out of 10. My character of the episode is going to be Kim. It was great to see Hank Schrader and Steve Gomez. Nacho was good, Crazy 8 was good, and Lalo was good too, but I just felt like Kim did more. Of course, we all know that Jimmy is the character of every episode, but if you want to look at who's the next best thing, in my opinion, that would be Kim Wexler. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Better Call Saul and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please consider Hulk smashing the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Better Call Saul. What would you rate it, this episode, and whom would be your character of the episode? And anything else that you want to add. What's a better show, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, in your opinion? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.